It's a beautiful day, man. It's a beautiful day. All right. I thought it would be a good idea to not only tell you guys what a Kinstretch class is, what are its benefits, why I think you should include it in your routine, but actually come here and show you a Kinstretch class, kind of invite you to do a very short, 15, 20-minute thing with me so that you guys understand the benefit, see how it's different from something else that you already may be doing in the gym, in your sport practice, in a yoga scenario, anything else that you may think resembles Kinstretch. I'm here to show you how it is, how it works, and you can kind of follow along with me. And if you want to do something nice for your body today, that would be a great option. Just taking advantage of this beautiful weather here in South Florida today. Came out here to the park to record some stuff completely authentic and unedited. So let's get started. Got some things here to say here in my handy dandy iPad. So first things first, we're going to be able to do this with zero equipment. All we need is your body, the floor. You maybe can do this at home. You can do this in a park, just like I am here. Anywhere that you have access to your body and the kind of an empty space works. What we're going to be training today. We're going to focus on the hips and the knees simply because most people tend to struggle with these. Most people are going to use these joints a lot during their sport. If you play pickleball with your friends, if you play tennis, on the weekends, basketball, soccer, if you go on a skiing trip, snowboarding, hiking, those are two joints that receive a lot of impact and get used on a lot by no matter what you do. So very important to not only keep them healthy and protected, but also if you're in the process of recovering and rehabbing them, this will also be a great routine for you to follow. No matter if you're a recreational sedentary person or if you're a professional athlete, both people are going to benefit from this routine just as much, simply because a better body allows you to be better at your sport. Any sports that heavily involve the lower body will benefit from this. First, we're going to start with some dissociation between the hip and the low back. So if you are someone that also struggles with low back pain, this will be a great routine for you. And then we're going to do some capacity training for the knees as well. Before we get started, one more thing, I do recommend that before you do this routine, and really every day, you should be doing your full body cars. If you don't know what those are, comment below cars. I will send you the video of the cars for free. Definitely do that routine before you do this one. And actually do that every single day. There's no reason you shouldn't be doing cars every single day. In the video, I talk a lot about the benefits of it and why I think you should do it every day. But yeah, if you want access to that before you get started here, just comment below. I'll send it to you for free. So it's also in the link in bio of my coaching page, my online coaching page. Let me see what else I got here. So before we get started, also the last thing I gotta say is people usually, you can train the hips in the gym and the knees in the gym. It's just that the tissues that are normally get trained, really you're referring to more the superficial stuff. So hip extensors and hip flexors. Really mostly the hip flexors, people tend to stretch those a lot. And they're heavily involved in hinge and squat patterns. But the ones that usually get less love are your rotational tissues, which are actually a little deeper. So they're closer to the hip capsule, which make them a little bit more important because they send and receive more information from your brain. So training those is actually probably more important than your linear ones, and they already get less love no matter what. So one of the big goals of Kinstretch is to really focus on those more forgotten body parts that don't receive as much love from regular gym training. And really train those hard, like really load those. So that's what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to be training the rotational tissues for both your hips and your knees, because yes, your knees do rotate. So let's get started. And you guys are going to have to excuse me because I am in a little bit of a slant over here. But the first thing we're going to do is even feel out what your hip rotators even are, because a lot of people don't even know what those feel like. So like I said, very intro level class. First thing we're going to do is take this 90-90 position. This means we are 90 degrees at the ankles, 90 degrees at the knees, 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knee, and 90 degrees at the back ankle. All we're going to do is feel out for our hip external rotator, which for this one, we're going to use our front leg. So all I want you to do is with your right hand, push your knee down against the floor and try to lift that left foot off the floor and relax. We're going to do about 5 reps on each side just to feel out what your external rotators are. Say hi to them. Say hi, external rotators. Keep it for a second and back down. We're going to do 2 more. 1 up and 1 down. 1 up and 1 down. All right, we're going to do the same thing with the back leg. So you can put your hand over here on your back knee. Lift up that right heel and down. Say hi to your hip internal rotators of your right leg and back down. Boom, and back down. 4 and 5. Those are your rotators. Switch sides, do the same thing on the other side. Use the hand, lock it down. Boom. Excuse me for the plane above. Boom. Very short. Don't gotta go too hard. Just feel what those tissues feel like. Back down. Let's do one more. Left knee for internal rotation. The slant actually make this a little more difficult than I anticipated. Very good. And good. All right, so those are what they feel like, particularly at their end range of motion for both internal and external rotation. Second thing we're going to do, now that we know what our hip rotators are, is we're going to do some isometrics for the hip rotator. So the name of this exercise really is pails and rails. And if you've trained with me in any way before, you know what your pails and rails are and how intense they are. So isometric contractions are contractions that you don't see yourself moving. So a great example is a plank or a wall sit. If you look at a person doing a plank or a wall sit and you didn't know what was happening, you'd be like, oh, they're just standing there, or they're just laying down there. But if you know that the abs are holding the person up during the plank and the quads are holding the person up during the wall sit. Pails and rails are a very similar concept. You're going to look at someone doing the pails and rails and they're going to be like doing ugly faces, and they're going to be like not moving, like in this position. And you're like, what the heck's going on? That's because they're producing force towards something in their general lower body area. And we're specifically targeting some sort of tissue down there. So pails and rails is just that. It's isometric contractions in certain way. And PAIL stands for progressive angular isometric loading. Isometric being the key part of that name. And then rails stands for regressive angular isometric loading. Again, isometric being the key part of that name. So we're going to do first a pails and rails set for hip external rotation. We're going to do one set for external and internal for both legs. And you guys can just follow along with me, and you guys are going to understand what these look like. So the first things first, we're going to find a stretch for hip external rotation. So front leg, external rotation, this leg is externally rotated right in front of you. For you to increase the stretch, what you got to do is bring that belly button forward. So a lot of people try to get, people do a pigeon stretch in the gym and you see them do this, which granted, yes, they are going into hip external rotation. However, how you improve on that is instead of bringing your chest down, you bring your belly button forward, and you're going to notice immediately your tailbone is going to tuck up and you're going to feel a pretty deep stretch on that right glute. So go ahead and hold that. Let me actually get my timer here on my iPad. Where's that? Right here. And we're going to hold this stretch for about a minute. And what we're doing here is we're bowing into that stretch. We're finding ranges that are a little tighter, which for me, as you can tell by my face, I just found one right there. And bring that belly button forward. Don't let that spine flex too much. We want to keep it extended, tuck our tailbone up and our belly button forward. Find more ranges to stretch in. Take in the sun, deep breaths, and try to relax as much as you can. The more you relax, the more you're going to show your nervous system that it's safe to be in this position. Whenever we bring our body into end range, just like we are right now, and it's in any end range, you're going to freak out a little bit because your nervous system knows you're weak there. That's why it's called an end range. And so your nervous system is going to try to freak out and try to get you out of it. So for you to bypass that, you're just trying to relax as much as you can. Be like, hey, brain, we're good. Like, it's okay. Let's just chill out here and calm down right before the storm. All right, that's about a minute. I'm going to reset our timer here, and we're going to do our pails and rails contraction without leaving this position. So the pails contraction, we're going to slowly start pushing our foot down against the floor, and we're going to increase the intensity on how much we push down with that volume knob kind of dialing up, almost like a music volume dial. So we're going to start slowly pretend like we have a button under our foot, and we're trying to press that button against the floor as hard as we can. I'm going to start the timer. We're going to do it for about 30 seconds. So let's get started. 3, 2, 1. Take a deep breath and go about 10%, pushing down against that button on the floor. And 20%. You're going to start try to leave a dent on the floor. 30%. 40%. 50%. 60%, 70, 80, 90. Leave a dent on the floor. 100, as hard as you can. Squeeze the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we're going to reverse it into our rails contraction, pulling up against away from the floor as hard as we can. Try to get the foot away from the floor. Knee stays. Push for more external rotation. 100%. More. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. And notice how I gained a little bit more external rotation than I previously had. That means I pushed my end range a little bit further and I gained a little bit more strength in that range of motion. And strength and mobility are really the same thing. Mobility is strength in this very specific end range of motion. Just like I can have good strength in the middle ranges of my bicep, I can have good strength at the end ranges of my bicep. That end range is going to be the weakest portion. We just created more strength there, which is, again, the more weak a region is, the higher the probability that you're going to get injured there. So making these end ranges stronger is really paramount to being able to be healthy and protected and more prepared for your sport or activity. So we're going to do the same thing, but for internal rotation. So I'm actually going to turn around to show you guys better what that looks like. So to find the stretch in internal rotation, this slant does not help me with this, and I also do not have great internal rotation. Adjust this. Cool. All we're going to do is we're going to bring that belly button to face the back knee as much as we can. I'm going to hold it here. And again, show that nervous system that it's safe to be here. You can use this hand to kind of push yourself even further. And this, again, guys, is probably the most basic way to make, to do a pails and rails set for hip internal and external rotations. There's more positions that we can use. We can use a bear sit, we can use sideline, so many ways. Quadruped is great. If you guys end up doing more Kinstretch classes, eventually you guys will notice that there are infinite ways to train your hips. All right, coming about 5 seconds here, we're going to take one more deep breath. And we're going to reset the timer. And again, for the pails contraction, we're going to start pushing down against the floor, trying to leave a dent in the mat. And 10%. We're going to go 20%, 30%, 40, 50%, 60, 70, keep going, 80, 90, and 100. Hold the 100. Notice how the knee's slowly trying to come off the floor. Don't allow it. 3, 2, 1. Without allowing yourself to twist, bring yourself into rails as much as you can. Try to bring that heel up off the floor. If you cramp, fight through it. I'm cramping. Hold harder. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Woo! All right. There's a goose staring at me. All right, let's switch positions. For you to switch, all you got to do is bring this knee as further out as you can. Once this cannot go out anymore, this comes with it. And then find your other side and adjust yourself there. All right. The slant is definitely not helping. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go a little quicker on this side just because we already know what we're doing. So find that stretch, bow a little bit, find what feels comfortable. Go side to side. Again, we're looking to not collapse into that spine flexion. We're looking to stay in spine extension and push that belly button forward. Hope I don't get attacked by a goose or a gator. Just Florida things. About 30 seconds. Again, showing the nervous system that it's safe to be at end range, that we are in a controlled environment. And we're going to strengthen what is weak. That's what makes you strong and protected. All right, one more deep breath and we'll get started. And 3, 2, 1. Start pushing down against the floor. Leave a dent. 20%. 30%, 40, 50, 60. Let's go straight to 80. Let's go 90. Let's go 100. As hard as we can. Hold. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse into rails. As hard as we can. Hold. Try to create more range. Pick your foot up off the floor. Create more external rotation. Strengthen that range that is weak. And 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax. Let your nervous system calm down again. And find your internal rotation stretch. Let's go straight into it. No reason to lose time. The goose is coming closer. You guys are going to be able to see him soon. What's up, buddy? You gotta be one with wildlife when you're doing these in the park. You guys are definitely able to see him now. You're chilling, man. All right, one more deep breath, and we're gonna get started with the back leg. And let's go. Start pressing down. 20%, 30%, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Hold 100 as hard as you can. Push against the floor. Hold, hold. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squeeze it up into the rails. Bring that heel up off the floor. Higher, higher. Cramp, fight through it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Breathe. Slowly get off position. You guys can stay right there. I'm going to check on my camera real quick. And we're rolling. Almost there. 17-minute mark already. All right, let's get through it. So let's move on to the knees real quick. We're going to make this real short for the knees. So first things first, we're going to learn how to rotate our knees in the first place. So most people, again, in the gym, they train the superficial stuff. They go knee extension, knee flexion in a leg extension, or in a leg flexion machine, or any sort of other hamstring exercise that is knee flexion based. But they forget that the most important part of the knee is that rotation, is those deep tissues that are around the knee capsule that actually communicate with our nervous system the most. So the better your knee rotation is, the better your flexion and extension movements are going to be. So it's kind of like a prerequisite to have even better knee flexion and extension. So all we're going to do, since I don't want to spend too much time here, is just really go hard into that knee internal and external rotations. And then actually in the end, we're going to finish with a little bit of a global exercise in butterfly shoulder cars, just to tap into a little bit of a shoulder, thoracic, hip situation. But first, let's just feel out what our knees, what our knee rotation is supposed to feel like, and we're going to do a little bit of a little isometrics. Let's put it that way. Same concept with pails and rails. So all the way out into knee external rotation and internal rotation. You can use this kind of like a figure 4-ish position. And if you want to make this even better, which a lot of people will do, because a lot of people will compensate with hip movement or with ankle movement, is you can kind of jujitsu your own leg here, pull it closer to you, and just really isolate that tibia rotating. Let's go 5 times out, 5 times in. And you're going to notice your hamstrings are going to contract quite a lot in this position. And whenever you're doing cars, guys, it's always important to irradiate. And I teach this in my cars video that I told you guys about in the beginning. You try to gather up energy, use your core, and funnel that energy into the joint we're trying to work. So deep breath, squeeze my core, squeeze my arms, squeeze my shoulders, squeeze my quads, and funnel energy into that knee. The same thing when we're doing our hip pails and rails like we did earlier. Funnel energy into that hip. Boom, boom, and you're going to notice you're doing this properly. If this bone moves, but this one does not. So the knee bone should be moving, and your thigh bone should not. Pulling your knees up towards your face, your toes up towards your face is also very helpful. Same thing on the other side. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Move over to the other side. We're going to do a very short set of isometrics just for knee internal rotation, which is this side. Internal rotation is actually the primary movement of most joints of the body. I mean, rotation in general is, but particularly internal. So it's a very good starting point for people to start training their knee joint, is to train tibial internal rotation. It's also what a lot of people miss when they're recovering from an ACL. A lot of people will do a lot of knee flexion and extension work. Very few people are actually going to load those internal rotators hard like you need to be able to recover properly. So we're going to get all the way over here into knee internal rotation. And we're going to use our opposite hand to kind of lock ourselves in. And we're going to slowly just push into our hand like we're trying to go back into knee external rotation. But our hand's actually going to win the tug of war between both. And that's going to create the pails and rails set that we did just like in the hips. The hand's going to act just like the floor, so to act as your resistance, so to actually make use of your arms as well. So put a timer here, put ourselves into as much internal rotation as we can. Yours may look better or worse than mine. You may have more or less range of motion than mine. Very important that if you are feeling any sharp pains at any point in time, whenever you're doing the pails and rails set, either decrease the intensity, like how hard you're going against the resistance, or decrease the range of motion a little bit so that you go a little bit back into your mid-range, which tends to be a little stronger in all joints, basically. So let's go into our internal rotation. We're going to slowly start pushing out into external, and our hand's not going to allow us to move. Let's go 20%. I'm going to let it go a little bit quicker for this one. We'll go 50%, 70%, 90%, 100. Hold 3, 2, 1. Internal rotation. Try to create more rotation, more. Point those knees in. And 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax. You're going to notice this part of your hamstring is going to act up a lot. That's what's creating that internal rotation motion. Let's do the other side real quick so you can finish up with some shoulders. Pull yourself into internal. You hold here about 20 seconds. Deep breath. Make this one a little quicker. And let's go. One more deep breath. 3, 2, 1. Start pushing out. 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and 100%. As hard as you can. Push out. Let the knee do the work. Try to go into external. 3, 2, 1. Take your hand off and try to bring that knee further in as hard as you can. Create more internal rotation. Twist that tibia inwards. More. 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. All right. You just trained rotation for both your hips and your knees. Great job. All we're going to do to finish up is integrate that into a more of a global movement, and kind of a little bit touch on a little bit of the shoulders, because it is another joint a lot of people have trouble with. We're going to take this butterfly position real quick. Just get comfortable in here. Show you guys from the side what that looks like so you guys know what's going on. The slant does not help me again. But all we're going to do, hands all the way up. And you're going to notice immediately when you go into thoracic extension, you're going to feel right here at the hips. And if you don't, fantastic, that is not your end range yet. Hands over here at your head. We're going to do one big shoulder car, which again, if you don't know what it is, go check out the full body cars routine that I have up in my bio on my secondary page, on my coaching page, or comment cards below and I'll send it to you. No timer needed no more. Just going to do 3 quick reps all the way up. Reach out as much as you can. Start pushing backwards as much as you can. You're going to notice your traps, your mid-back squeeze. And bring it all the way up into your mid-back. Let your shoulders go into internal rotation as much as you got. retract that scap, shoulders come out all the way back, extend those elbows, twist that light bulb once you can't pull up anymore, rotate, 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 and finish where you started. Don't forget to go all the way up into flexion and then go up. We'll do 2 more reps. Boom, all the way up, twist that light bulb. Don't let yourself collapse, keep that spine extended, make those hips work a little bit. Boom, boom. All the way up, slow and controlled. When you get really good at these, you can eventually, where am I going? You can eventually start loading them with dumbbells as well. So you'll be doing these holding dumbbells. Easier said than done. But to begin with, no dumbbells is just fine as long as you keep pushing for that end range. In this position, we are integrating the shoulder with the T-spine, the lumbar spine, and the hips. Relax, slowly get off position. Like I said, very short class, but we are done. Let me see if there's any other remarks that I want to give before we close the video out. I don't think so. I think we're all done. Hope you guys enjoyed very short Kinstretch class with me. Like I said, very authentic. I'm just kind of turned my camera on and said what I had to say. So if you guys want to see more of this stuff, please let me know. I can post more. If you guys ever want to join any Kinstretch class, also let me know. And if you guys need help with anything more specific, or you want to see a specific body part, or you need help with any specific body parts, or you'd like me to bring Kinstretch to work with, your athletes or your players anywhere, let me know. Shoot me a DM, and we'll get talking about that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the following video at some point.